More big information is coming out about the possible future of Ripple and XRP. So we heard the other day, we read an article about Ripple trying to acquire Circle. That's huge, big information. But now John Deaton is stepping out there, and John Deaton is saying something that we were discussing years ago, but now might become a reality. John Deaton is saying this. I'm going to read it to you. They have a tweet cropped here. It says, if Ripple and Circle combine, buying and becoming a bank is next. Buying/becoming a bank is next. Remember we used to talk about that? It's unbelievable how far we've come, how close these are to realities. And like I said, it doesn't take a lot of capital to start a bank. What was it, like $10 million? And then you have to meet like 3 criteria. It was like 3 or 4 criteria, something like that. It's not that complicated, especially not for a powerhouse like Ripple. Do I think they need to do that? I don't think they need to do that, to be quite honest. But could they do it? Yes. They made it clear they want to expand. I don't know where that ends. You know, they're into custodying services. So that goes with the custodying services that they have. That goes right in line with banking. That's what all the banks are looking at right now. They're trying to get into heavy. 2 things the banks are trying to get into heavy: custodying services, because they want to hold your crypto, right? They want retail's crypto. OK, they're going to play with it. They're going to make some money with it. That's one. Then the other thing, also, of course, is real world asset tokenization. That's what they want. So all of that Ripple's already deep into it. So if they wanted to do that, this would become easy. And I'm going to tell you what else. If they were to do that, man, the banking system better watch out. I'm telling you, they better watch out. They can't compete with they would not be able to. They can't compete with Ripple now. It's just that everyone's playing catch up because crypto was held back for so long. But they can't compete with them now. If they become a bank and now they have access to legacy system bank customers, that would be major. Major. What it is when you have that title of being a bank, it brings a certain level of legitimacy to you in the minds of a lot of people. Yes, it's like that. Yeah. So if you call yourself a bank and you have all the proper things set up, customers will come. They'll test you out. That could be huge, especially when you have global reach. Where do they establish their branches if they do that? There's a lot of ways this can go. But that's what he's saying. Buying/becoming a bank is next. Inquiring minds want to know, how high will at B. Garling House go? We're going to find out, I suppose. And apparently they're taking XRP with them. So now, they even clarify this. This is a good article, actually. They have a little section here titled, Ripple is on an acquisition spree. Yeah, it's a power grab. They're grabbing up power. They're making sure, like they said, they want to maximize the value of XRP. I believe that firmly. That's why they have so much. It's not just to put it to use. They want that value as well. Make no mistake about it. This is last month, Ripple decided to buy Hidden Road. We know that. Then, of course, they go over the fact that Hidden Road processes $3 trillion yearly. They have over 300 institutional clients. Let me highlight that. 300, folks. These are now, listen, we have to put it into language that is real. That's now 300 Ripple clients. Ripple bought Hidden Road, so they just inherited from via Hidden Road 300 institutional clients. Has anyone gotten a list on the clients? Who are their clients? They're moving $3 trillion a year. And then you had the representatives, if those articles were accurate, representatives from Ripple come out saying that they want Hidden Road to utilize XRP. So what the article said, right? All right. That's 300 institutions that will be utilizing XRP, or rather, and I know people will be very semantical with what I'm saying. I know. Or rather, if those 300 institutional clients are feeding money through Hidden Road, then that is the value of 300 institutions flowing through XRP if Ripple keeps its word. And I mean, so far, it looks like they've been doing that, correct? So what does it do to the price of XRP? It should put that price out of the galaxy. That's what I would think. So, I mean, I suppose that if we look into it deep enough, we probably could find a good amount of those clients, who they are. But I mean, we do have that cumulative amount, 3 trillion a year. Maybe that's enough, maybe that's enough information for us. But things are looking good right now. So now let's move here, because of course there's a bunch of information. First, they were saying there's going to be ETFs soon. Then I saw an article or two that was like, well, maybe they're holding it off. So let's find out. Let's get an update on this right now. All right. So this article is titled, "Here is XR." Oh, maybe this is not the update we want, but maybe it's the update we need. Here is XRP price after ETF approval. If XRP ETFs get 15% to 30% of Bitcoin ETF inflows. Once again, I want to say, it took some time for the Bitcoin ETFs to pop off. If you look up ETFs and how long it takes for them to really kick into effect fully, it typically takes a little bit of time. So I wouldn't expect things to happen immediately, although could they? Yes. Could they? And if that were to happen, I'm all for it. So now here, I'm trying to click this off and it will not go off. XRP's price could reach greater heights if XRP ETFs secure only a fraction of Bitcoin ETF inflows following their approval. The potential approval of a spot XRP traded fund in the United States could lead to massive price implications for the asset. With XRP's regulatory hurdles largely resolved and institutional appetite on the rise. So I want to highlight that. Let me highlight that. Everyone is highlighting institutional appetite. The institutions are here. The companies are buying. Nations are buying or interested in crypto overall. The takeover is here. And another thing they want us to know, apparently they keep on iterating it in these articles. This is what they're saying. You do your own research and look at the information for yourself. They continue to say retail is walking away. Retail is selling simultaneously while institutions are buying. That's what they claim, which has huge impacts for the future prices of these top crypto across the board. That means they're all going to a higher place and they're going to stay there. Not that they can't have dips, of course, but it would be on a semi-permanent basis that they would be higher because they're propped up by institutional buying. And institutional buying is absolutely nothing like retail buying. It's not. But let's keep going. It says, an institutional appetite on the rise. The odds of approval have increased. Bear with me. Interestingly, Polymarket sets an 80% chance of an XRP ETF approval this year, up from 68% just a week ago. As market participants anticipate these products, most expect a bullish impact on XRP price, especially if they record similar success to Bitcoin ETFs. It's definitely possible. It says here, for context, data from So Value indicates that Bitcoin ETFs have accumulated approximately $39 billion in net inflows since their introduction in January 2024. If XRP ETFs capture just 15 to 30% of that figure, the price of XRP could skyrocket. For instance, assuming XRP ETFs attract 15% of Bitcoin's ETF inflows, this would equate to $5.85 billion entering XRP-focused funds, applying a modest inflow to valuation multiplier of 100x. This $5.85 billion could boost XRP's market cap by $585 billion. It says, notably, when added to the current market cap of around $130 billion, the new total valuation would reach $715 billion. Meanwhile, XRP's circulating supply currently stands at 58.44 billion tokens. Factoring in this figure would place the price at about $12 $2.23 per token. I don't think that's far-fetched. I think that's definitely possible at some point for XRP, given all the catalysts. I would go a step further. I think that if XRP is utilized to its maximum capability, I think it could go way past $12. But that's just my humble opinion, not financial advice. But this is definitely possible, in my humble opinion. It says here, that represents a 450% surge from its current trading price of $2.22. Here's the kicker about that, in my humble opinion. So they're saying that if that were to occur, and they're just taking ETFs into account, the XRP could possibly reach around $12.23. That's not taking in interbank payments into account. That's not taking in payroll into account. That's not taking B2B into account. Can you imagine where XRP's price could go if all of that is actuated upon? It would be astronomical. That's what's exciting about XRP. You want to be real. The companies behind it do not make it a secret what they're doing. They don't. They put out a lot. So if someone could make the argument, yeah, there's some stuff they keep quiet because of NDAs, but they also put out a lot of information. So it keeps it exciting. They're pretty transparent. Like, we want to do this. We want a global reach. We're doing custody. We bought Hidden Road. Like, they put out a lot of information, and other companies some companies do a little bit, but they don't do as much as Ripple when it comes to XRP. Ripple, SBI, Volante, Uphold. There's like so many different participants putting out information. So it keeps it fun. It keeps it fun. And that matters to me. It does. It matters. It's one thing to invest in something and it be super boring. It's another thing to invest in it. And it's actually interesting to learn the machinations of what's going into making it rise. We're getting to watch it, to be able to directly see potentiality. Like, okay, this looks openly bullish. That's a great thing. So that's how I feel about it. So let's continue on. However, doubling that share to 30% of Bitcoin ETF inflows would have an even more dramatic implication. This higher percentage would result in $11.7 billion in net capital moving into XRP ETFs. This would lead to $1.17 trillion increase in XRP's total valuation by applying the same 100x multiplier. It says, when combined with the existing $130 billion market cap, XRP's valuation could climb to about $1.3 trillion. The new valuation yields an XRP price of $22.20. What do you think about that? Is that possible also? Like I said, with all the catalysts that XRP has, $22 in the future time, some point in the future, $22 would not surprise me, wouldn't shock me at all. I'd wake up, I'd see that information and say to myself, yep, I knew it. That's exactly how I would feel. I knew it. And then even looking at that, I would immediately go and say to myself, or look at, make a mental list and say to myself, which catalysts contributed to this? Because if there's still major catalysts, interbank payments, B2B, if XRP at some point in the next 2 years reaches a much higher price than where it is now, which is not bad where it is now compared to where it was in the bloody bear market. It's not bad at all. It's great. And it depends on where people got in. That's on them. We're not in charge of that. So, and that will affect obviously people's opinion. Somebody who bought in at $2 might be like, it's okay. Somebody who bought in when it was 50 cents, 52 cents, 56 cents might be like, yay, that's great. It's subjective. But keeping that in mind, I would watch those catalysts. If it goes to a astronomically higher price, start looking at the catalyst, because I would feel that even if it does go to an astronomically higher price, if those catalysts remain not actuated, like they didn't come to fruition just yet, then it could go even higher. Yes, I'm saying that. Yes, that's how I feel. You don't have to agree. That's how I feel. I feel like it could go higher. I feel like that with a lot of the bank coins. They're sleepers. In my opinion, they're sleepers. And they have all the potentiality in the world. Thousands upon thousands of businesses, banks, and nations need money and information to move at light speeds. And they need it now. They need a new system right now, not later. DLT can provide that. So when I think about that, I think about who are the top companies, who are the best of the best. And I think a lot of the ones we cover here, Theyre, Ripple, Zenfin, Algorand, Stellar, all these, they have potential. It's just about watching and seeing if the companies that are building on there, are the developers building on there, are there partnerships being made? And then you can make your own assessment of how much potentiality these things have. They're all different, but they all have great potentiality. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so now let's move on. I don't want to take too much time there. So let's move on here. And I'm going to have to slide a very heavy article back because I don't think we have enough time for such an article where we would have to go deep with it. So let me slide this one back. I may post that for the members only section. Okay. So keep an eye out on that. And if you haven't already, just make sure you're checking for those posts that I've been making. You're going to get some more tonight. So now let's go here. Let's go here to a little bit of Bitcoin news. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope you're safe. I see a lot of the things that are going on in the news, etc., with different areas. So I hope that you're doing well. Your families are doing well. And if you had the opportunity to be here with me now, then I appreciate you being here with me now. And I mean that. So thank you. So now let's go here. Bitcoin volatility lowest in 563 days. Arthur Hayes predicts $1 million Bitcoin by 2028. There's so many people saying $1 million Bitcoin. I'm having a hard time now remembering who, except for, what's the one guy? Samson Mao. See, I remember him because he's been saying $1 million Bitcoin for a long, long time. But now there's like others coming out, like $1 million Bitcoin. So I can't remember if Arthur Hayes has said this for a long time or if this is a new thing that this person has been saying. But that's the claim now. $1 million Bitcoin price by 2028 amid rising ETF flows and investor confidence. Well, I mean, shouldn't we also take into account that countries want Bitcoin? We had a city the other day. I believe I covered in that video yesterday. Roswell. Cities want Bitcoin. So they're going to hold some. States want Bitcoin. They're going to hold some. Countries want Bitcoin. They're going to hold some. Retail has some Bitcoin. How much longer can this continue? And Bitcoin hasn't even hit I don't think it started to sprint just yet. I don't think so. I think Bitcoin is still kind of slow walking. It's like a slow walk. Sometimes it jogs a little bit to bring a little visualization to it. But I don't think we've seen a sprint yet. I don't. What happens then? So now let's continue on. Bitcoin is showing signs of maturity as a global financial asset, with price volatility dropping to its lowest level in more than 500 days, according to new research. Volatility refers to the degree of variation of a trading price over time, which indicates the uncertainty about the size of changes in an asset's value. Bitcoin, which is showing here, if this is accurate, green at $96,726. Weekly volatility hit a 563-day low on April the 30th. This is coming from Vettel Lund, the head of research at K33 Research. So it's coming from a research company. This is what they do. So serious business. It says Bitcoin's decreasing volatility suggests Bitcoin is maturing as a global financial asset, leading to a more stable price trajectory. I agree with that, and that's very, very good. Bitcoin has become the 7th largest asset globally by market capitalization, reaching $1.87 trillion. It now ranks above silver, Meta, and Saudi Aramco, according to company's market cap. Bitcoin exchange deposits have also seen a, quote, meaningful decline, which suggests, quote, reduced selling pressure and an uptick in, well, look at that, reduced selling pressure. Something's coming, it's bubbling, and an uptick in conviction-driven custody behavior. That's major. unquote. It says analysts from Bitfinex Exchange told Cointelegraph, adding, quote, the divergence between price stability and shrinking exchange balances is critical, especially in a week following a $7.2 billion options expiry and heightened macro volatility. All right, let's move on. Let's get in one more article here. Now, this article here is titled Bitcoin Eyes Gains as Macro Data Makes U.S. Recession 2025 Base Case. Bitcoin market commentators focus on potential benefits of a recession, scared for Bitcoin price strength as macro data piles pressure on the Federal Reserve to act. All right. I'm trying to skip it because they repeat themselves here, and I want to skip past the part where they repeat themselves. All right. I'm learning from what I've done in the past. U.S. economic health is due to take a hit on the back of, geopolitical things happening. The latest macroeconomic data, which includes Q1 GDP and the Fed's, quote, preferred, unquote, inflation gauge, puts officials in a tight spot, Kobisi says. GDP came in markedly below expectations, turning negative against a forecast 0.3% gain. Effectively, the Fed must pick between containing either inflation or unemployment, unquote. It's summarized, calling the situation the Fed's worst nightmare. A key issue is the extent and timing of any interest rate cuts, something that crypto and risk asset traders are keenly eyeing thanks to the positive knock-on effect for markets. Quote, not reducing interest rates will further weaken U.S. GDP and likely increase unemployment. However, if interest rates are cut immediately, we would expect to see another rebound in inflation, unquote, Kobisi continued. All right, so they're laying out their case here. All right. Thus, in a, quote, lose-lose situation, the Fed faces the threat of both stagflation, rising inflation with rising unemployment, and full-on recession. Quote, a recession in the U.S. has become our base case scenario, Kobisi added, linking to rising odds on prediction service Kalshi. All right, so this is what they're looking for. And of course, with all of these things, people may go into things to protect their value like Bitcoin as well as gold. Also, gold would be in there. So now, speaking of gold, let's see if we can close out with a little bit of gold news. I think we have enough time here. And wait, I thought this was, pardon me. Bear with me one moment. Okay, here we go. Gold news. I found it. Gold has a path to $4,000 if investors continue to lose faith in U.S. dollar assets. This is coming from Natixis. It says the gold market is seeing a higher volatility, holding initial support at $3,300 an ounce as investors continue to navigate geopolitical and economic uncertainty. However, one market strategist said that gold still has room to move higher as it remains an attractive safe haven asset. Well, okay. Well, I almost took that the wrong way because they're like, one person is saying this. And my mind immediately went into, wait, I've read multiple people saying gold was going to go to $4,000 in the past 2 weeks. I've read a lot of people saying that, but they mean whoever they're talking about here. So let me just, let's move forward. In his latest report on gold, Bernard Dada, commodity analyst at Natixis, said it's no surprise that gold has fallen from its recent all-time highs at $3,500 an ounce. I don't think that's a big deal to me, in my humble opinion. Not at all. $3,500 to $3,300. And of course, there's going to be some liquidations. There's going to be some profit taking. People are going to take some value from gold and reallocate it. I think we've seen that. Right? I think we've seen that. So that's not a surprise to me. It says, although some geopolitical tensions have eased, Dada said that they haven't completely disappeared. Of course not. He added that any new conflict will provide support for gold and potentially drive prices to $4,000 an ounce. He added that the key for investors to watch will be the U.S. Treasury markets and money market funds, as gold's opportunity cost are less important than its role as a safe haven asset. All right, so now that you have that information, what are you going to do? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.